I feel so weird filming this video because I haven't done a sit down video in what feels like forever. As you guys know, I mainly do vlogs these days, so sitting down in front of a camera with a ring light is like a little bit intimidating, but I also kind of love it at the same time. You probably haven't really seen like my little office setup, but you'll see it in a future video very soon. But I've kind of like been rearranging it in here and I finally got a ring light, so I thought I might as well use it for today's video. So I haven't actually said what we're doing for today's video, but I'm doing an adulting Q&A because, as you guys know, I recently moved out of home. I've been living out of home for about 3 months, and in that period I've learned so much about being an adult and just being independent, and I wanted to ask you guys if you had any questions about it and if I could help you guys out. So I posted on my Instagram asking for you to send in some questions, and you actually sent in quite a lot, which I'm really happy about. So hopefully this video will help you out and will answer some of your questions. So let's just get into it. So the first question I'm going to answer is, do your parents help out with expenses? And I can say that they 100% don't. I pay for everything myself. I'm 100% financially independent, so anything you see me buy is, I'd say, most likely with my own money. But when I was living at home, that was a different story. My parents obviously paid for the groceries, they paid for the whole family and like cook for us, and they paid for all the bills. But when I was living at home, even though my parents did pay for a lot of these things, I did also contribute. I had to pay like $50 board every single week to help them out, which really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, especially now that I'm paying rent. So I did contribute a little bit when I was living at my family's house, but now that I'm living out of home, I don't pay board obviously anymore because I'm not living there. I just pay for my own rent, which I do out of my own pocket. I work hard for my money and I just pay for everything myself, which is a pretty good feeling, I'd say. Like, it's nice to know that you're financially independent and everything you have comes from hard work. So yeah, it's a nice feeling. The next question I'm going to answer is, do you do your own tax return or do you have an accountant? And actually a lot of you guys had questions about tax, so I feel like I should talk about it a bit in this video. But I actually have an accountant. So for me, I find it's easier to have an accountant because I have multiple streams of income. So I earn money from YouTube AdSense, from my sponsorships, and also from Disney. So 3 different places, and so it is a bit confusing to do it myself, so I find it easier to go to an accountant. And I actually go to an accountant that specializes in the entertainment industry. If any of you guys are interested, they're called Generate, and they're actually really, really good. I personally feel like going to one in my industry is great because they know a lot about the things that I can claim. I've been to other accountants before who don't know much about like YouTube and things like that, and don't know all of the things that you can claim. So I would recommend, if you're in like a bit of an unusual industry, to go to an accountant that knows a lot about it. But also, a lot of jobs you can just do your tax return by yourself. I know my boyfriend does his tax return by himself. He just gets his PAYG at the end of the year and just like lodges it and gets money back, or might have to pay something. So it is sometimes pretty simple. If you have like one stream of income, you just get your PAYG and you make a list of the things that you need to claim and you like fill it in on the ATO website. This sounds so confusing, but if you find that stuff quite confusing and you just don't want to do it yourself, I would recommend going to an accountant. But obviously then you have to like consider the fact that you're going to pay an accountant as well. But the good thing is then you get to claim your accountant on tax the next year. So I personally do go to an accountant, but you can do whatever's right for you, really. Another topic that you guys had a lot of questions about is budgeting. So Amelia asked, how do you set up your budget? So I'm still kind of working on this, if I'm totally honest. Although I will recommend, if you want to learn a lot about budgeting, read The Barefoot Investor. My boyfriend and my boyfriend's mom are on me about finishing that book. I read about like 3/4 of it, and it is actually really, really good. He shares in the book like different ways to like split your accounts up. So you have like your expenses account, your leisure account, your savings, and yeah, he just like does it by percentages. So pretty much when you get your income in, a certain percentage goes into one account and the next and the next. So then you don't have to like think about it. So he kind of like teaches you how to automate your account. So like a certain amount of money automatically goes over. And I have done that a little bit. So I've automated my account. So I have like my rent going over to a certain account every week. So I don't have to think about it. So it just goes and I'm like, oh, I'll see your money, but I don't have to think about it. I feel like if you guys are interested in budgeting, you definitely should read that book, and I think it would really help you and just give you a different mindset. He really like trains you to have a healthy mindset with money, which I really like. But as for what I do with my money, like I said before, I like to split it up. I have 4 different accounts in one bank, which is like my expenses, my leisure, my fire extinguisher, and my Smile. So you guys will understand it if you read The Barefoot Investor, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best at splitting my money yet. But one thing that I do really like about this whole system as well is that you get multiple debit cards sent out to you, and I like to label my debit card. So I have one that says expenses and one that says leisure. So when I'm buying things, I make sure I use the correct card, and this makes it really good for tax purposes as well, because at the end of the year I can just look at my expenses card and be like, what stuff can I claim? Because most likely my leisure stuff I can't claim. So I really like it for that reason. It helps me keep track of things. I wouldn't say I'm too strict with my budgeting though, to be honest, because you do have to live and you don't want to be stressing about that stuff all the time, and every month is different. Sometimes you have more expenses than others, but I do like to kind of like think about it as I'm buying things. So I like to think, am I buying like a lot of stuff this week? Have I eaten out multiple times this week? And just kind of be like mindful and conscious. And I feel like that's all you need to do, really, just like consciously think about, where am I spending most of my money? And usually, you know, like for me, I spend a lot of money on having coffee out. So I actually got an espresso machine for my birthday. So that's been helping out a little bit. Not gonna lie, still like going out for coffee. But I hope that was good advice. I feel like I just rambled a little bit, but pretty much what I'm getting at is that you just need to like think about where your money is going, really, and just not go too overboard on one particular thing. And as long as you're saving, I think that's a big thing. I always like to make sure that I'm saving money. I don't want to just live paycheck to paycheck, because obviously you don't know what the future holds, but everyone's financial situation is different and everyone's financial goals is different. Personally, I like to save, but also like spend a little bit of money. But yeah, just do what works for you, really. The next question I'm going to answer is, what are some tips for job interviews? And I've actually done quite a few in the last year. I think I've done 3 in the last year. As you guys know, I recently did an internship, but I haven't actually like talked about this, but I have finished that now. I was doing an internship at a clothing company called Sunday's Label, and I was going in 1 day a week. You guys are probably so surprised, thinking like, I didn't even see you do this, but yeah, I was actually doing that for about 10 weeks. I was going in once a week to help out with like marketing and content creation, and I learned a lot. But I've also done 2 other job interviews before that, and I feel like I've learned quite a bit from that experience, and I do still find them very nerve-wracking when I go and do job interviews, but I feel like I've got better as time's gone by. I just remember before doing them, like asking my mum and my boyfriend's mum, like, what do you do? And they were just like, you know, just go in there, be professional, be polite, like be yourself. And I think the main thing is just like holding your head held high and feeling confident in yourself, and just really selling yourself and like telling them why you'd be good for the job. And I feel like wear something that makes you feel comfortable. I always like to like find an outfit I feel confident in for like a job interview. And I also like to do a lot of research on the brand that I'm applying for before going for them, just so I feel like I know a lot about them. And I would say don't get like too worked up about it. Just remember that you're still talking to a normal human. It's still a regular human interaction. Even though you're like trying to impress them, you don't need to like overthink it too much. They should be nice to you as well and make you feel comfortable. And yeah, just be yourself. So the next question I'm going to answer is it hard to keep your stress levels down? And the reason I wanted to answer this is just because I feel like I have been quite a stressy person lately, and it's something that I am currently working on. So what I like to do to try and keep my stress levels down is, first of all, make lists. I feel like when I see everything that I've got to do like in front of me visually, I mentally just feel so much better, and it's so satisfying just being able to tick things off. But also I think taking time for myself really helps me. So doing things like getting up early in the morning and going to the gym, I feel like it really like sets my day off right, and I feel accomplished at the start of the day, and then the rest of my day kind of like follows on like that. And I also really been enjoying lately getting outside, especially when it's like a sunny day. It's been really sunny lately, which has been really nice. So I like to try and find time in the day just to be outside. And another thing that I like to do when I get stressed out sometimes is just kind of stop myself and make myself sit there and think about what I'm grateful for. And this is like a new thing that I've been doing lately, and I feel like I've been hearing a lot about people practicing gratitude. and I just thought, why don't I actually try it? And it's been making such a difference. So before I go to bed, sometimes I'll just lie there and think about what I'm grateful for. But when I think really deeply and focus on the things that I'm grateful for, I honestly get like an influx of happiness. Like when I sit there and think about how grateful I am for like Braden, for example, and like everything that he does to me and how lucky I am to have such a great boyfriend, it just makes me feel like really great. And there's just so many things in life to be grateful for. So I find that if I'm ever getting really stressed and worked up, I like to just stop and think, Ella, like, what are you doing? And calm myself down by thinking about those things. So Liv asked, what's it like living in your own apartment? And I personally love it. I love where I live and I'm so happy with my apartment and how it's all come together. And I actually really love living on my own, which I never thought I would say. Even though I still have people around me a lot, like Braden stays over a lot and I always invite my friends around, I do actually enjoy my alone time a lot more now that I'm living out of home. And I don't know, I just like being in my own little environment that I've created now. And I actually weirdly feel like more motivated and inspired since moving out of home. I think that it was really time for me to leave my family home when I did. And not because like of anything really serious or anything like that, but it's just something that I felt like I really needed to do to grow as a person. And a lot of people have commented on how much happier I seem. And I definitely am happier, even though I do still have like down days or like weeks which I feel like a bit poopy. I do generally feel like a lot happier now, which is really good. So having my own apartment's great. The next question is, how do you have the money to go out for meals or coffee every day and groceries? And I wouldn't say that I actually go out to eat every single day. I do get coffee out quite a lot. And that's something that I definitely want to work on. But I would say the reason that I can afford to do things like that is because I prioritize those things over other things, if you know what I mean. So last year I was spending a lot of money on things like holidays and trips, but this year, since I'm living out of home, I'm prioritizing differently and my money isn't going towards trips anymore. It's going towards like living my life at home. So since I'm not going on like holidays, I find a way to like treat myself is by going out for lunch. I don't really know if that makes sense, but pretty much what I'm trying to say is like each year I prioritize different things with my money. So last year I prioritized like going and traveling and I spent a lot of money on that. And this year I'm not traveling as much, so I have more money to spend on things like lunches and stuff like that. So that's probably like why I've been doing it a bit more. And also, since I'm not going on holiday, I'm trying to make like living at home like a holiday every day. That sounds so cheesy, but if you can't afford to go away, why not like just like treat yourself at home and just kind of make like a staycation in a way and just enjoy being at home? Because more often than not, you probably live in a really beautiful place already and you're just tempted to go away because you see other people away, and then you forget that like, wait, why don't I like make it seem like I'm on holiday in the place that I live already? So that's something I've been trying to do lately, just enjoy being like where I live. I feel like I've got so off topic. The question was, how do you have money to go out for meals and coffee every day? But linking back to that, because I'm not like traveling and stuff, I feel like I have more money to spend on those things. So it's just like what I prioritize. So Jazzy asked, do you have any funny stories when #adulting has gone wrong? And I feel like, I don't know if they're that funny, but there's lots of things that have gone wrong and lots of things that I didn't know. So when I first moved in, I didn't know how to work my oven and I was so confused and spent hours trying to figure it out. It turned out there was a child lock on. So yeah, I didn't know that. And another thing that I didn't know is that you have to get the fluff off of the tumble dryer before you use it. I didn't realize that that even happened. I just thought you put your clothes in and turned it on, that's it. I didn't realize you had to get the fluff off of the filter. But I'm glad I do know that, because if you don't get rid of that fluff, it can cause a house fire. But yeah, there's just so many little things that I look back on and I'm like, oh, that's so funny that I didn't know that now. So Ashley asked, do you feel like you're wasting your money renting instead of saving up to buy? And I wanted to answer this because this is definitely a question that I would have asked probably at the start of this year, because I didn't think I was going to be moving out and renting. I didn't think I was going to be moving out at all at the start of the year. I just had the goal to save up to buy a house. But I feel like circumstances change all the time. And in my situation, renting was best because obviously buying a house is very expensive. You have to have a deposit to pay up front. and then you're going to be getting into mortgage repayments every single month or however often you have to pay them. And obviously mortgage repayments can be quite expensive, just like rent, but you're gonna have to do them for like a long period of time. And that is quite a responsibility. And I just feel like I'm not ready to jump into doing like mortgage repayments and stuff. Plus I'm not ready to buy a house. So it was either the choice of just waiting a little bit longer until I could like buy somewhere, but then have to pay mortgage repayments for a really long time and not have as much money to do things like traveling, or I could move out of home and just have a bit more like flexibility and be able to move, like, because you're not locked down to staying somewhere for a long time. And I know with like buying somewhere, you can have someone living there and renting and they're basically paying off your mortgage, which is great, but I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be buying somewhere to live. So I think I'm just gonna like wait a little bit longer until I feel like a bit more financially stable. But that's personally like how I see it. I know when you're renting, you technically are paying the person's mortgage, but it's a choice that I made, and I feel like it's for my own happiness and it was kind of necessary. So yeah, that's how I view it. I think everyone's situation is different. If you can hold off and enjoy living at home, definitely do it. But I personally couldn't stay at home any longer. And like, that makes it sound like I had such a bad home life, and I really didn't. But there's a lot of things that like went into this decision of me moving out of home, and it was definitely the right decision. So I've had a lot of questions about like how I balance things like work, cleaning, study, fitness, social, and me time. And to be short and sweet, I would say just schedule things. I like to schedule my week on Google Calendar, and I really plan it out to the T. Sometimes I'm not the best at this, I'm not gonna lie. And then I find when I slack off, that's when like I get really confused and I'm like, what am I even doing? Like, I feel like I'm not putting 100% into things. So if you really look at your week in advance, I really feel like that will help you. If you want to check out my Sunday routine, I actually show you how I plan out my week, so that might help you. Another thing that I wanted to add is that if you're finding that you can't get everything done, try and get up early. Honestly, early birds catch the worm, and it makes you feel so much better. I've been getting up early and going to F45, and I just feel so much more accomplished and I get so much more done with my day. And also, if you're struggling to like find time to hang out with your friends, I find that dinner time's a really good time, because most of the time my friends are home in the evening, so I'll invite them round to have dinner with me and we'll like cook together. And I find that fits really well into my routine. But yeah, they're just a couple of tips that I would recommend. So the final question I'm gonna answer is, how do you know when it's time to move out of a family home? So I would just say that if it's something that's like a reoccurring thought and you can actually afford it, then it's definitely something you should look into. There's nothing wrong with wanting to move out of home. Obviously, you just need to know that you can afford it and you're not going to be stressing all the time. But for me, I was actually thinking about it for about 2 years, so I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, and I knew it was a thought that I had to take seriously. And yeah, I mean, it all happened very fast though, because I was like holding off because I wanted to try and like save to buy somewhere. But then all of a sudden it hit me, I was like, oh, I just need to move out, like now I need it. And yeah, pretty much within a week of viewing places, I applied for somewhere and then got accepted. So it happens very fast, but you'll just know in your gut when it's time to move out, really. But that's gonna be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and you found it helpful and a little bit interesting. I don't really talk about these types of things on my channel very much, but let me know if you would like me to talk about like these kind of things more, or if you have any more questions. If you have some more questions, feel free to leave them down below and maybe I can do part 2 to this video. But if you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!